Hello guys, how are you doing? So in this video I'm gonna start with a review of oxidation and reaction first, and then we're gonna move on to worksheet. So for oxidation and reaction I will give you a shortage form: oil reg. Okay, so over here oil is oxidation is losing. Okay, so oxidation is losing oil. And then reg is reduction is gaining. So what do we gain? Of course, electrons. And then over here, oxidation is losing of electrons, reduction is gaining of electrons. Electron is negatively charged particle, and each electron carries a charge of -1. Okay, we understood this part. Now I'm going to show you an example. For example, over here, X goes from 0 charge into X plus 2. What happened here? We know that from here we lost 2 electrons. That's why our charge become +2. And the reason is, in the beginning we had same amount of protons and same amount of electrons, right? You remember from 10th grade. If you lose 2 electrons and electrons are negatively charged, you become positively charged. So that's why if you do charge balance on this, it's going to be 0 on this side and we have +2 in here. But we need to make both sides equal. So if I add -2 on here, they're going to be equal. This -2 is 2 electrons. Okay, so as you see, I lost electron as a product. So this is why this is oxidation. Okay, and reduction is over here. For example, y goes from y to -2. Now let's look at this. I know that this guy, no charge is given, so this is 0 and this is -2. How can I make both sides equal if I only have a chance to add electrons? So we know that if I add -2 to this side, they're both going to be equal, right? Both sides. So this -2 is addition of 2 electrons. As you see, on the reactant side, we gain 2 electrons, but in reduction. But in oxidation, we lost electrons as a product. We gained, okay? And one more thing is that whenever you have oxidation, this is a reducing agent, okay? And then reduction happens with oxidizing agent. I think you guys are pretty good with knowing this. Now let's move on to the exercise together. So I chose some of them in here, and you have the solution in the bottom of this, guys. But I'm going to explain some of the important ones so that you can do it on your own, the rest, and be prepared for exam. For example, the first one. Don't worry about coefficients, okay? The coefficients in front of them. Worry about the indexes. You see this, guys. So we know that from our oxidation manual that element by itself is 0. No charge is given. This guy is 0, right? But in here, they are compound. We know that the oxygen is always -2, right? We know that the oxygen is -2. We don't know this guy, but they need to add up to 0. So X plus -2 is 0. So X is +2. So if you write this reaction in here, we see that strontium on the left side went into strontium +2. And then this guy, oxygen, went from 0 to -2. Let's make this balanced. So this guy is 0 charge here, and this guy is +2 charge, right? How can I make both sides equal? If I add -2 here, this is going to be 0, and both sides are going to be equal. So this -2 is 2 electrons, because each electron is -1, and you can only add electrons, okay? So I added 2 electrons to here to make this balanced. And as you can see, I lost 2 electrons as a product, okay? But now in oxygen's case, so this is oxidation. Now at oxygen's case, we have a charge of -2 on the left side, and 0 on the, -2 on the right side, and 0 on the left side. How can I make this both sides balanced? By adding electrons. I know that electron is negative, so if I add -2 here, both sides are going to be equal. And this 2 is going to be adding 2 electrons here. Okay, so when you, from above, what did we have? So reduction is gaining, right? And oxidation is losing. So if you look back here, we gained electron in the beginning, and we lost electron in oxidation as a product. Okay, that's why this is a redox reaction. Now from here, it's asking us to identify, we found the oxidation and reduction. We need to find the oxidizing agent and reducing agent. Because oxidation happened here, this guy is a reducing agent. Okay, so strontium is reducing agent. And then oxygen, because reduction happened here, is oxidizing agent. Okay, now this one is more detailed explanation. Now I'm gonna go into the other ones, but I will be a bit faster. So don't worry about coefficients, as I told you, only care about these indexes. So magnesium by itself is 0. We learned from the previous video. Element by itself is 0 here, and this thing needs to add up to 0, right? We told you that in oxidation manual, second group elements, calcium, magnesium, and beryllium are always +2 charge. We don't know this guy. Okay, let's do the math together. This is 0, so 3 times 2 plus 2 times x equals to 0, right? And then 6 plus 2x is 0, x is -2, 3. Okay, so we got nitrogen, which equals to -3. Now let's write the half reactions. Let's break this down. This is overall reaction, but we're going to write the half reaction. So magnesium went from magnesium 0 to magnesium +2 over here. You see, magnesium +2. Let's do the charge balance. So I have 0 in here and +2 here, right? How can I make both sides equal? If I add -2 on here, they are going to be equal. So this -2 is addition of 2 electrons on this right side. And as you can see, I lost electron, you see, as a product. So this is oxidation. And reduction is, let's see, so nitrogen started with 0, okay, and then we go to here, and nitrogen is -3 this time, -3. Okay, so now let's look at this. Nitrogen -3 and 0. How can I make this balance? This is 0 on this side and -3 on this side, the charges. So if I add -3 here, both sides are going to be equal. And this -3 is addition of 3 electrons. And as you can see, I gained electron as a reactant, and I lost electron over here as a product. So this is reduction, this is oxidation. That's why this guy is oxidizing agent, and this guy is reducing agent. Okay. Now I do one more on this guy. So chlorine by itself is 0, bromine by itself is 0. We know from previous oxidation number manual in my first video that sodium is always +1 and halogens are -1. They add up to 0, right? And the same thing here, add up to 0. This is +1, this is -1. And you construct chlorine goes from 0 to -1. Okay, 0 goes to -1 if you write down the half reaction. And bromine went from -1 to 0. Okay, -1 to 0. Okay, how can you make this balanced? If you add 1 electron here. If you add 1 electron here, this is going to be -1 on this side and -1 on this side, so it's equal. And this is -1 on left side and -1 on here because of 1 electron, so they're balanced now. So this is, which one is this? This is going to be oxidation, and this is going to be reduction, because as you see, I lost electron as a product, I gained electron as a reactant. So this guy is going to be oxidizing agent, and this guy is going to be reducing agent. And with the guys, I mean like chlorine and bromine. And then we're going to go into here, sodium and water. Let's put the charges, so don't worry about the coefficients, okay? Don't worry about them. Sodium by itself, no charges given, so it's 0. Hydrogen by itself, no charges given, 0. And then we know that oxygen is always -2. And then we do the math. We know that this thing needs to add up to 0 from previous video. So 2 times x plus 1 times -2 is 0. And if you do the math, 2x is 2, x is plus 1. And we also know that hydrogen is plus 1 most of the time. So that's why hydrogen is going to be plus 1 here. And if you do the sodium, what's the charge of sodium? If it's in compound, we learned in the previous video that it is plus 1. Okay, so let's draw this. So sodium went from 0 to plus 1. 0 to plus 1. Okay, and then hydrogen went from plus 1 to 0. 0. Okay, so let's do the charge balance. So we have 0 here and plus 1 in here. How can I make both sides equal if I only have an option of addition of electron? So if I add -1 in here, they are going to be equal. So I will add electron. As you see, I lost as a product the electron. So this is oxidation. And then reduction here is, you see the charge went from plus 1 to 0. So this is plus 1 here and then 0 here. If I add -1 in here, they're going to be equal. They're going to be both 0. So -1 is 1 electron. I gained electron. That's why it's reduction, and it is oxidizing agent. And this is reducing agent. If you want a quick tip in terms of like oxidation and reduction, I'm just going to explain you in terms of mathematics. So this is 0 in here, and this is plus infinity, and then you have negative infinity. Okay, if you go this direction, okay, this is oxidation in terms of charge, and this way is going to be reduction. Okay, I will explain you how. You see over here, we went, so going right is oxidation. We went from 0 to plus 2, so it is oxidation. We went from 0 to -2, so we went left side. So this is reduction. So we went from 0 to plus 2, 0 to plus 2, meaning like we went this way. This is oxidation, okay? And then we went from 0 to -3, which is reduction, going left. Okay, so that's another way of knowing this. We have done this 11 and 12 in the first video. I'm going to show you guys 2 examples in here. So using the changes in oxidation number, determine which elements are oxidized. So the question number 13, it's an important one. So an element by itself is 0. We know that. And then we also know that oxygen is -2. And this guy needs to add up to 0. So if you do the math together, so this is going to be x, like 1 times x, because only 1 carbon is here, plus 2 times -2, which is in here is 0. And then you do x equals to plus 4. So we know that this guy is plus 4, and it's 0 here. So we know that it went from 0 to plus 4. So this is 1. And then we know that the hydrogen is plus 1, and we know that oxygen is -2 from previous video, and this guy is x. Let's do the math together. So 2 times, so everything needs to add up to 0, because no charge is given, it's neutral compound. 2 times 1 plus x plus 4 times -2 is 0. if you do the math, X is plus 6. So this guy is plus 6 here, sulfur. And then we come here, oxygen, SO2, right? So by itself, this whole thing is 0. Oxygen is -2. Let's say this guy is X. Let's do the math. So 1 times X plus 2 times -2 equals to 0. And if you do the math, X becomes plus 4. So this guy is plus 4 in here. So let's do this. So sulfur from here went from plus 6 to plus 4, and then carbon went from 0 to 4. Okay, if you do the charge balance, you know that if you will add 2 electrons on this side, this is going to be plus 4 the whole charge, and this is plus 4 here, so it's going to become equal. Because I gained the electron, this is reduction. And as you can see, I went from positive infinity towards left in mathematical way. That's why this is reduction. And oxidation is from 0 to 4. So if you add 4 electrons onto this side, because there's 0 charge here, and then you had plus 4 plus -4, this becomes equal. So this is why this is called oxidation, because we lost the electron as a product, and we gained the electron in reduction. So this guy is sulfur in here is oxidizing agent, and this guy is reducing agent. Okay, this is very important, guys. You need to know this. I'm just going to give you an idea here. So potassium, we know that this is +1, oxygen is -2, and you need to make this whole thing to add up to 0. If you do the math, you need to get for manganese +7. Okay, and chlorine, in previous video, we know that it's always -1, and this is X. So 1 times X plus 2 times -1 needs to add up to 0, and then you're going to find that manganese is +2. So it went from +7 to +2, okay? And then chlorine in here is -1, and hydrogen is +1, because they add up to 0, right? And then chlorine in here is 0. So chlorine went from -1 to 0, and then manganese went from +7 to +2. If you write this down, manganese +7 went to +2. You add 5 electrons onto the left side, so this is reduction. And then oxidation is chlorine went from -1 to chlorine 0. And then if you add electron in here, both sides are going to be equal in terms of charges. That's why this is reducing agent, and the one up top is oxidizing agent. Okay, and then using the same idea, you can do it over here. So iron is +2 and +3 over here. So I write this +2 on the left side and +3 on the right side. And then how can I make this balance? This is +2 here and +3 here. I can add -1 in here, so both sides be equal, which means that addition of electron to the right side. And as you can see, I lost electron. This is a product side, right? And this is reactant. So I lost electron, that's why this is oxidation. And over here, if you look, manganese, if you do a charge balance, so you see the whole thing adds up to -1. So, and then you say magnesium is X, and we know that oxygen is -2. Let's do the math. X plus 4 times -2 becomes -1. X minus 8 is -1. X is +7. Okay, so +7 here, and then +2. As you can see, manganese again went from +7 to +2. If you add 5 electrons here, your charge balance will be +2 both sides, okay? So that's why, because you gained the electron in the beginning, this is reduction, okay? And it is oxidizing agent. Well, that's it, guys. I hope this will help you guys out. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.